Hello and welcome to Golden Boy Tactics. On this channel I record live tournament games of Warhammer Age of Sigmar, and then I review them afterwards to find out what strategies we're thinking about, which mistakes that I make, and so on, to see if we can all learn from it. And this first tournament is Warcon in Silkeborg in Denmark that I went to last weekend, and it was a super good tournament. The first thing I want to do is to talk through the list I was using there. So I was playing Stormcast in Sentinels of the Bleak Citadel. The general was the Sultan Prime, and with him was unit of Reinforced Annihilators, together with Lord Imperator and a not reinforced unit of Paladors with Javelins and unit of Vigilers. And in the other regiment I had a Lord Vigilant and a Gryphstalker with Garters, unit of Reinforced Reclusians, and the Storm Coven. And of course the trick of this army is that you want to deploy the big unit of Annihilators and Reclusians and use all the buffs, charge in, and destroy the enemy. So all the synergies that are relevant here is that the Lord Imperator can make the Annihilators and the Reclusians move d3 inches after they land, or the Prime if I choose to. And then Garters can give +1 to charge and +1 attack to both units. So if they deep strike 9 inch away, on average they have a 6-inch charge then to make. And then if they make the charge, the Lord Vigilant would be able to give the Reclusians fight twice. So it's really a lot of alpha potential in this one. Then I play with the Etherrod machineries, so I could get the Chronomatic Cogs out to do every roll charge rolls. The trick of this army, the tricky bit is that half of the units need to start on the table. And ideally I would just like to deep strike everything in the army. But typically what I did is I deployed the Paladors, the Storm Coven, the Vigilers, the Lord Imperator, and potentially the Lord Vigilant and Gryphstalkers on the table, and then the rest in the sky. And because the most difficult aura to be in is the Garters one, and so he does need to deep strike with the remaining units. And then surprisingly enough, there's quite a lot of shooting in the list. So with the Paladors, the Storm Coven, and the Vigilers, and even a bit from the Prime combined, I can manage to sort of slow play it if I need to clear screen, for example, just with shooting before deploying my big melee units. So yeah, super fun list. My first opponent of the tournament was Thor Jakobsen, this handsome gentleman here, super nice guy, and yeah, a really funny guy as well. And yeah, let's take a look at his army. So he was playing a Cruel Voice 3-drop army here. So with Gobsprak, Breaker Boss on Troggoth, unit of Reinforced Godrippers and Monster Killers. Then Swarm Called Shaman with Popgrot, Godrippers, reinforced unit of Manticore Bolt Boys, and a unit of Monster Killers. And then lastly he had the Hurtling Hogs. So my initial thoughts on playing against this, I didn't have a lot of experience against Cruel Boys, but what I did do is kind of prioritize targets that I want to kill first. So Gobsprak obviously being very high on the list. The same with the all the shooting units, and basically just the Godrippers being a very, very dense wound units, being the last one on the list. It would, however, be difficult to kill the Breaker Boss because he has this. He's able to pass on wounds to a unit on a 4-up, so he basically has a 4 board in a sense. So he would also be difficult for me to deal with. So let's take a look at the game. Here in the deployment phase, I think my deployment wasn't really all that tricky. So I deployed the 5 units that I mentioned before on the table, so the Vigilers in front of the objective, the Storm Coven behind them just tagging at the objective, so they become a 2-cast wizard. The Paladors on one flank, wholly within a forest, just so they won't get shot at, and the Lord Vigilant on Gryphstalker on the other flank. Well, quite central, but on the other flank, he's with a mirror shield, so I'm also screening, shooting from that angle. So really, if my opponent wants to teleport a unit of shooters, he needs to be a little bit central on the board to actually shoot in anything juicy. And in the far back is my Lord Imperator. He's obviously super important for my deep strike, but he can always teleport with the Stormreach portal, so he can get to wherever he needs to be to do my alpha potential. Yeah, so I think this type of deployment is fairly standard for me, and we'll see in many of my games that it's sort of many of the same units that I decide to keep on the board. So my opponent was a 3-drop army, and I was a 2-drop, and there's nothing that really threatens me in turn 1, so in this case I will always give him the first turn. So let's just move a little bit forward in time here. So there we go. So my opponent gets the first turn. He goes for take the flanks. He realizes after deployment that it's not ideal, but there are no really good turn 1 tactics for him, because it's either the center or the flanks, and no matter which one of them he goes for, he will be exposed somewhere to my alpha. So yeah, his turn 1, that's pretty much what happens. He goes for take the flanks and tries to position in the sort of the safest way possible. You can see here he's I'm just fast forwarding a bit again. He's sort of teleported the unit out here to screen Gobsprack a little bit from the front. What I am realizing at this point, however, is that there may be an opening for me in the far corner in the back now, behind the Bolt Boys and Gobsprack. So his turn 1 is now going to finish without sort of too much action. And let's just go forward here a little bit. He's moving his units up, getting that objective. Unfortunately, on the other objective, his run was just short of reaching the objective. So he needed to use the CP for auto 6 on Gobsprack to actually get the tactic. So he was just short of getting this objective. So he ends up scoring 7 points in this turn. And now here what I always do when I then get my first turn is to really think a lot. So I normally I can take almost up to 10 minutes just thinking about where is my opening up now, because that's really the most critical moment of the game, is where I decide to deploy my units. Now, I think my opponent, when I started talking about going in that corner, he also thought it seemed like the most obvious one, so the corner here with the Bolt Boys and Gobsprack. I was, however, hesitant to commit to that corner, because when I deploy my units and I have, Annihilators with 4-inch move and I have Reclusions with 5-inch move, if I deploy in that corner and I fail my charges and my opponent then gets the turn, he can just run away from me, and then my whole army is just standing and doing nothing. Whereas if I deploy more centrally, I will always be relevant for the game. I'll be, threatening all of the objectives and so on. So I was very much debating whether to go in the middle, straight into his Gut Rippers, or if I go for the more juicy targets on the back. The other part that made me consider going for sort of the more central play is that it would be easier to get all my ranges in place. So if I go for the corner, I thought it would be very, very difficult for me to both get the Lord Imperator there, because I would need to teleport him, and also get the Lord Vigilant for the strike twice. And furthermore, if I got the Chronomatic Cogs off in the center, it would enable me to reroll charges, but I wouldn't be able to place that one in the corner. So really a lot of the ranges and buffs and so on, I wouldn't be able to get those off if I commit to that corner. It would only be the Lord Imp who can go there. But anyways, after a little bit of consideration, I did go for that play. So let's just fast forward a bit here. So see my Paladors going forward. I think the Paladors were fairly comfortable. I did a little bit of math and realized I would probably be able to tag and pin. So they have finest hour now, and with all out defense, I would probably be able to tag and pin both of the units of Gut Rippers, because not a lot from the big unit in the middle would be able to actually hit them if I get in for just within 3 inches of them. So it was really a play to sort of start doing some damage to the Gut Rippers and pin both of them. So after I commit to the corner, it's not very easy for them to get away, and there's also no easy way of them getting into my sort of more fragile units there in the corner. So here we see I start deploying in the corner. So I've teleported the Lord Imperator down there. I deploy now Gardos and the Reclusians and all the Annihilators. And here I always take quite a long time to measure everything out to just make sure it's, everything is very precise, because you don't want to sort of lose an inch on being imprecise there. So yeah, we do some shooting with the paladors, and then we go for the, here you see I do the movement. So I just moved 2 or 3 inches up with the big units. Now I do some shooting from the paladors and from the vigilers in the middle into the monster killers that are hiding on the terrain. And now we go for the charges, and here comes the big ones. So you see the reclusions charging into the bows, the bows, and then the annihilators. Now he did make a big redeploy with the Gobspreg, so I needed to roll a 9 on the dice to actually make this charge. And here you see I failed the first attempt. Ah no, this was another charge. I charged the Lord Imperator in, and then we go for all the other charges first, and then here you see finally getting the big one for the annihilators. So I needed to roll a 9 on the dice here, because I have +1, and it's a 10-inch charge. So that was a really big one. And apart from just being really lucky I got the charge, it was also more than an 8-inch charge, so I could get fight last with the Annihilator ability on Gobspreg. So this is sort of the dream turn 1 for me, because I get all my charges, and I'm just able to do a lot of damage in this first turn. So combat goes more or less as expected. I kill all the bows, I kill Gobspreg, I kill the monster killers, and I do a fair bit of damage to the God Rippers. So a lot of damage. I haven't yet committed my prime, so he can still come in and be dangerous. And from here we go into Prio. I obviously stand very strong if I win the Prio here, to just really consolidate and finish off the remainder part of his army here, and just leaving the sort of the one flank left. But Tor does win the Prio, and obviously takes the turn. So let's take a look here. So he moves forward over here with the God Rippers on that objective, and with the boss with them. So the boss wants to be within combat range of this unit at all times, because he can then pass wound on a 4-up. So I'm aware of this, and I know that if he's planning to charge my Vigilus, then he will really stretch out, and it'll be difficult for him to stay within that bubble. Then he moves forward his other flank, so the God or the monster killers out there together with the 2 big pigs. And I redeploy the annihilators here just to get a little bit closer to him for me to actually stay relevant in my next turn. So he goes for some charges. We see the troll charging in there, and the God Rippers charging in and staying just within that 3-inch for the 4-up passing wounds. He also tries to go for a very big charge on the other flank. I don't think he gets that. And then we go into fighting. So he doesn't do a whole lot of damage. He kills a couple of Vigilers and 1 Reclusion, but I fight back and I do quite a lot of damage as well. So that's really his next turn. So again, he's not in the best position. He's sort of stuck in combat everywhere. Hasn't really done any damage. So going into my second turn is really where I need to consolidate. So for me, it's now really just moving forward and getting in the good charges. So I retreat my Paladors because they can retreat, shoot, charge. I move forward the Annihilators and Garters in the corner. Move forward the Lord Vigilant and Gryffstalker, and then lastly I deploy my Prime for him to be able to also come in the game and stay relevant. He can deploy 8 inches away now because it's the second turn. We do a little bit of shooting, so the Paladors particularly finish off a few more God Rippers, charge in with the Annihilators, and the Prime then fails his charge, but it's actually not the most important because the rest of my army is really able to just pick up the remaining units So we see the God Rippers disappearing here to Vigilus and the Lord Vigilant, and then Annihilators, Reclusions finishing off, and then Annihilators piling in afterwards. So now I've really cleared this entire side of the board, and yeah, now it's just the two big picks from the Hurtling Hogs and a unit of monster killers left. When we then go into battle round 3. So in battle round 3, Tor wins the Prior again, but at this point it doesn't really matter too much because I'm so strongly positioned on the board. But he wins the Prior and of course decides to take the turn. He then continues to move forward the Hurtling Hogs, charging my faction terrain on the one side, and moving forward here. I redeploy the Prime away because, well, two reasons. First of all, I would like to keep my Prime alive, but also if he actually charges in and kills him at this point, he's much closer to my Annihilators and Reclusions, so I can actually give a clap back if he gets that far. Oh, sorry, that was a move before. He charges in here with the one Hurtling Hog, charges into my Cogs with the other Hurtling Hog just outside of 3 of the Prime, so he can pile into him when he needs to. So yeah, continues to do some damage. He only managed to kill off one of my Storm Coven, so the really underwhelming damage from the one pig. Then for the other one, Tor goes for a risky but probably necessary play, because he needs to take some big chances here. So he piles into my Prime and puts all of the attacks into the Prime, and could have finished him off. He had a lot of high damage attacks, but only one of them got through. And with the Prime having 10 wounds and a 5-up ward, he survived. And then when the Prime fight back, he actually killed the pig. So at this point, we are at the top of 3, but now Tor has lost pretty much all of his armies, and here he concedes the game. So yeah, I mean, this army that I play, when I get my turn 1 charges off, I'm in a very strong position. If I get the double, I can close most games there. But even in a situation like this where I lose both the first priors, it's just an incredibly strong sort of alpha list when I have the right opening. So of course this channel is about learning from mistakes, and I do think I played a pretty good game here. So there's not gonna be many things to point out. I think the few things I maybe wish in hindsight that I deployed my Lord Vigilant a bit more aggressively on the side. So here you can see he's quite next to the rest of my castle. I think he could have been further on the one flank because he's anyways has the mirror shield, which makes him pretty much invulnerable turn 1. And if he's close to the flank, he basically threatens that objective more. So I think that would have been the first thing. And then the other thing is more sort of a small mechanic where after I make my charge, obviously, I mean, going for this corner, if I had lost this game because I had lost my charges or failed my charges and lost the prior, and he could have escaped from me, you know, I might have called this out as one of the bigger mistakes of the game. I'm a little bit in doubt because I do also think, like, when you see the opening like this, it is just very tempting to go for. Here I got lucky with both the charges. I think, I mean, it could have went wrong. So I mean, it's a point for consideration at least. And then a smaller mechanic would be when I then charge in the Reclusions into the Bolt Boys. Here, the way I distributed my attacks, I actually I think I overcommitted a little bit to the Bolt Boys themselves, which ended up leaving the manifestation still with some health left. Which means that if I had won the prior and taken the turn here, there was a risk that I wouldn't be able to banish that one, and then I would be sort of stuck in combat with the manifestation. So I think that was a small undercommitment to that one and overcommitment to the Bolt Boys. But apart from that, I'm quite happy with my positioning on the board. The place I put down my prime, sort of not too close to his other flank, because that would I knew that he would have to come towards me to have any relevance in the game. And at the same time, the prime would be fast enough that if he just tries to play the slow game and stay away, I could have chased after him. So quite happy with the rest of the positioning of this game. So if we take a look at the final score of the game, the first 2 rounds it's fairly even. So first turn we both get 2 objectives and a tactic each, and in the second round, I gain my tactic, and Tor gets 3 objectives. But then from turn 3, when he goes for the do not waver, but ends up losing one of the picks fighting my prime, he drops 4 points there, and then turn 4 and 5 I'm basically able to cap out the board. So a total of 44 to 18, leaving me with a big win this game. But very well fought from Tor. It was a tough matchup when I got my charges, and he really was a joy to play against. So very good game to start the tournament with. Thanks a lot for watching this first video. I know there's a lot of stuff I can improve on the formatting wise. I have a lot of ideas myself, but please, if you do have any comments, please leave them in the comment field below. Any suggestions for improvements would be much welcome. Some of my own considerations: I want to do more layovers. I want to make sure to use the background better in the videos, the formatting in the future. I also will see if I can show the game score throughout the game in the future. So yeah, quite a lot of ideas, but if you have any more ideas, please do let me know. And again, thanks a lot for watching and following.